Hello, as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, which you probably aren't because I am super bad at uploading things, I am here with an in-person guest. That's the word I'm looking for. This is Jenn.
Hi.
Jenn Roubal.
It's Roubal. Very easy.
And just background, she's been one of my best friends. We've known each other for like 11 years now. And she's pretty much like a sister, even though she says I'm only one of so many best friends that she has, which is okay. You know, we all have different perspectives in life. So that's Jenn.
Yeah. Once she puts this up on YouTube, you'll see my facial expressions.
So I asked Jenn to be on the podcast because A, she's awesome. B, I think she's funny and insightful and super cool. And C, she is an entrepreneur as well. She owns her own wedding business, which is super dope. She's super made for it. So, but we also just have really great organic conversations. Mm-hmm. And so I already know, because the type A personality that she is, she wanted to review it before we got started. So I already know we're going to have great conversation. So welcome to Jenn. Please tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me on the podcast. I've been counting down the days since you were going to ask me.
I mean, I wanted to make sure I was a little more established first.
Well,
had kinks worked out.
Well, so far what I hear, I love it. You're doing great. I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was not telling us about you though.
Oh yes.
Also, I love your sweater.
Thank you. I just got it. Well, your listeners will soon to find out that I do not like attention on myself, nor like talking about myself. So this might be
exactly why she's on the podcast.
Rough. Yeah. So what was the question? See, here we are.
Tell us about yourself.
About me. So I'm from Maryland. That's how Sarah Hips and I have met. Mm-hmm. We both worked at NAA.
Yeah, we don't have to
plug.
Any.
Yeah. So we met there, and then I lived in California at the age of 23 to, gosh, what age was I when I moved here? 28.
I didn't
29.
realize you were that young when you went
I was a baby.
There.
Yeah.
Even more impressive that you moved out there.
Thank you. Well, it will spin and deep dive into the conversation we'll have today on why I actually moved out. So
look at her.
Plot twist. Maybe I am made for radio.
I feel like we need what's it called? You know how like I've only listened to a few podcasts because I don't like podcasts, but
here we are.
Well, I get to talk incessantly.
It's about me.
What I like to do.
Right, yeah.
Actually, Tiz said that one time when we were hanging out, and she was like, I was like, oh, what a great conversation. And she's like, well, you and I both love just talking about ourselves. So we're made for just hanging out. And I was like,
we're made
right.
I love that. That's so funny.
But yeah, no, like, I feel like because you like the true crime stuff.
Oh, yes.
So I feel like whenever I've listened to some, and actually, have you ever seen that Portlandia commercial where they are like, they're pretending that one of the skits is these two people who are doing podcasts about true crime, and they do things like like in the police station, and the girl's like, okay, I'm gonna call your number, but don't pick up, okay? And the police officer's like, okay, and then it starts ringing, and she's like the phones were ringing, but no one was here to answer. Where was the body of Charles? Like, and he's like, I mean, you told me not to. And she's like, cut. You can't talk. like, and the guy's like playing like a violin in the back. Like,
that's
anyway. So
that's how it's done. That's how the podcasts are really actually done. Hardworking people are just like that. You know?
I should have like a podcast voice specifically.
Yeah, you should.
But then it would sound.
We've talked about this.
Okay, no, what you said was that my intro sounds excited, and then my intro sounds no.
Your intro sounds more low key, and then you're up and bubbly big personality and energy.
It's
And
because-
I would love if people could write in and tell us if they agree.
Okay, if you can write in with your letters.
I don't know what you do on this thing.
As opposed to DMing me.
Snail mail it.
Well, the problem is that I'm excited when the podcast starts. And then as the podcast goes, I get calmer and my voice goes to its
I know, because
normal
that's how she is.
octave.
You will find out here shortly that I probably am louder than Sarah in this podcast because
Yeah.
I have a big voice,
Very loud.
very loud voice. So a lot of times I'm always like, Sarah, you need to speak up because these ears cannot hear the softness that you're
These
doing.
ears cannot hear.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I was trying to tell this is completely off topic. I was
We're
telling
already way off
topic. I was telling my neighbors, she said that her ears were clogged.
Oh,
And I was-
ear thing?
I told her about that, which actually you can take on your way home. But I was telling her that sometimes you have to press or stick something up the ear throat canal.
Ooh.
And then they got really concerned about what I was sticking up my ear throat canal. And I was explaining to them that and then Kaylee thought I was sticking things down my ear. And I was like, you can't.
Wait, how are you sticking this up your ear throat?
There's the entrance, where your ear drains into your throat. It drains into the back of your mouth, down your throat. There's a little entrance. I'll show it to you later.
No.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna point it out.
Okay. You know what? I feel like we need to get you a roommate or we're finding you a man fast. Someone needs to be here watching you at
places.
Oh my gosh. Every time I feel like I hear something new about what you're doing.
You're
I'm
having
like,
the
I need to
same
go over
type
here.
of reaction. And I was telling them, I was like, I'm not dead yet. I've survived a lot of things. I said, don't make me recite them. And then I recited them. But the point is that.
But you may have aged yourself.
Oh yeah,
or
probably.
Your ears.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was emotional this past weekend, I was like, who knows? Maybe, I think I told you, I probably hit my head, jostled something loose in that car accident.
Yeah. If everyone saw the hole that she did on I-25,
It's impressive.
would not doubt that. Yeah. Concussion happened. So
I didn't have a concussion.
Anyways, what are we talking about?
We're starting our comedy podcast. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, we did talk about that. This is definitely a good spinoff.
Yeah, we should just, oh my goodness, we should set it up at Sam's number 3 and just
have Anthony, he'll be our first guest.
Well, we'll just be like, hey guys, so here we are on hash browns and eggs.
I wouldn't doubt that we could do that.
Probably could.
No, let's talk about to Anthony about that when we go in on Saturday.
Yeah, we will. Okay. So Jenn is a wedding planner.
And we both have ADD.
Yes, type A, type B, loud, quiet like a church mouse.
But both very honest with each other. I will say Sarah is my only friend that I see, and she says that she's not my sister. So yeah, she's my only friend that I really can be completely transparent with and honest, and even if it hurts us both, but it's what we have to hear.
We have taken some verbal things from one another, but you know what, always better for it.
Yeah. And even if when we know we've crossed the line a little bit, we definitely come back to apologize and know that we were wrong of how we said it.
This is true.
But did it need to be said? Yes, but maybe not the way we said it.
You know what? I will give Jenn a lot of credit because a few years ago, she was the one that was like, you need to get your crap together. And then look at me in a 700 square foot apartment with an extra dog I don't need,
3 animals,
and a book.
I cannot be more proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
You have done a complete 180, 360, all of it.
Well, we don't want to do 360.
I'm I don't know what people usually say.
Everybody says 360, but you don't want
180.
Yeah, 180 means that you've gone from bad to good.
Right.
360 means that you went to visited
you went
the good
the whole way
right back to the bad.
Or back to the bad. Yeah. No, a complete 180, and I'm so proud of you. I know we talk so much more about the more potential that you have coming your way and the more work that you have to do, but
yes,
you have come so far, as we all do, just so everyone knows. I have so much work I need to do for myself.
Well, you know what? It's the beautiful thing is that one day we're going to live in a house next to each other.
Yes. So that's not going to be talked about today because
It's not, because we've already decided it's already done. So, here's a question.
Yeah.
To get us more
Did I
on
even
track.
finish more about me?
No, you just talked
But
about
I'm fine
Maryland.
about that because we know I do not want to talk about me.
You start at Maryland and then
here
you
we
left
are.
that.
Yeah.
So okay, when you lived in California,
Mhm.
you got into event management.
Yes.
Do you think that you were finding your way to wedding planning? What made you decide weddings? Love, that's my business.
Yeah. I mean, small background again. So when I moved out to LA, I actually wanted to do PR, not made for me at
Mhm.
all, but I worked in the entertainment industry and did events there it's called Relativity Media. And I was just an assistant. And then I really thought I wanted to do PR. And then I did it, was awful at it, got fired, thank the Lord. And then I went into the hospitality industry and did events there. And I started out as the assistant and then ended up basically running
The
shop.
top
The top dog. So I at the end of my career there at IDG, I really found, like, I don't know, weddings. I was just like, I really love weddings. Like, I don't know. It has all the logistical planning. I mean, it has love. Who does not love love?
I love love.
Honestly. I mean, if you're throwing up right now, I completely understand. That did sound, a little cheesy, but I just love love, and it's a happy moment. It really is.
Yeah.
And I chatted with some wedding planners. They actually would try to talk me out of it and be like, you don't want to do this. It's a nightmare. Like,
oh, really?
Oh yeah. Like, they would be like, you're so busy 24/7, like all the time, which running your own business, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But, I wasn't looking at the time to have my own business. I actually never wanted my own business. You know this. I never had that for my future. I don't even know what I had for my future. I just knew I was on the right path for the direction of my career, and I knew it had to be events, and I knew it was not hospitality anymore, and that's why I geared towards wedding planning. But the universe did not see that for me at the time, and that was in, probably like 2017. I moved out here in 2018, so 2017ish. And then when I moved out here, I wanted to try the outside. So I basically was working for a restaurant group where I was the venue and everybody was coming to me, right? So I was only doing food and beverage, rentals, some small details.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do the big details. Like, I wanted to do basically what you were doing at NAA and doing like a lot of the logistical planning. So I worked for a company out here for about 6 to 7 months, and that was definitely a lot more logistical side, which I loved. And I did more nonprofits, and I loved the nonprofits. They just unfortunately were not for me. And because who does not love spending people's money? But nonprofits, of course, are lower on budget. So it just was, it let me be a lot more creative, that's for sure. Cause I had to think, they want this, but they only have this in their budget. So of having to get creative on that end. So I will say that really did help me for my career. But when I left the company out here, I was like, what do I want to do? Like, I know it's events, but do I want to go back to hospitality? Do I want to stay in kind of like this market of, just finding an event company out here or whatnot? And then the universe was like, it is your time. And dropped, the whole, you should look into wedding planning and start your own business. And how many times I called you. I think Sarah was my first person that I called because I knew she would give me the right validation.
Oh, good.
Yeah. See, look at all this, all the truth coming out. So yeah, I knew she would give me the right validation and tell me like, you're not made for this, or you are made for this, or think to do this or not.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he said. And then when I told my family, they were on board, and Zane, my husband, of course, is 100% on board, and we were dating at the time. So that was a little scary. And yeah, I don't know. I honestly cannot tell you. I'm a very spiritual, like, with the universe, whatever comes my way, I try to change the negatives to a positive kind of situation, still working on it. But I don't know. It literally like fell in my lap, and I was like, if this goes away, then that means it's not meant to be. And it never did. because I did procrastinate a little bit to get my job up and running. And that was September of 2019. And then I opened my doors literally a week before the pandemic.
And wait, what is your business called?
It's called Anna Ray Events.
Which is super cute.
Yes. And my name is Jenn. Just so everyone knows, it's not Anna, nor is it Ray. So Anna's my middle name, and my grandmother's name was Ray. And I just always have loved that name. So
yeah, I like your business name.
Yeah, thank you. So that is how I started my business. The universe. It told me to do it.
The universe.
And I did it.
It's weird that you said that you moved here in 2018 because it does not feel like that long ago.
I know. It's crazy.
That's a long time.
It is.
Like, I feel like it was like, I mean, not like it's that big of a difference, but 2019 sounds correct.
Yeah.
Like lengthwise.
I think it's just because it feels like that's when I actually started my like life here in Denver. Like found a job, and didn't have a job, and went through all that. And then 2020 is a wash. So
it was just such a beautiful thing that she wanted to live in Denver next to me.
Mm-hmm. A full 360 circle.
We just can't get rid of each other. So yeah, I mean, I love it because I already told you, I can't wait till you're like leading everything around here. I bet, oh my goodness, I bet you anything. You're starting with the weddings, and then at some point you're gonna have a like subsection of your business that is like parties, events, like blah blah blah.
I love that goal for you. I do not picture myself doing that, but you know what? That is never one that I would like stop from doing.
I'm just saying, because here's what happens. You get someone who has a crap ton of money, you do their wedding, and then they go, oh my goodness, I loved working with Jenn. We should have her do our baby shower, whatever. And then you're like, okay, because I loved working with you too. And then boom, baby shower. And they're gonna be like, oh my goodness, we have to do a party and it's gonna be this. We should get Jenn to do it. And you're gonna be like, okay, because you keep paying me stupid amounts of money. And also like, you're super cool. And then boom, their friends are like, oh my goodness, this party is amazing. And then it just keeps going. So then you have to hire someone else to work that part of your business.
I love this huge goal, and
it's crazy.
It's
crazy how your business is just going to like develop like that.
You never know. We'll see what the future holds.
I just can't believe it's going to happen.
Yeah,
definitely. 100% going to happen.
Yeah.
What I know that one of the things that you hinted to, and we talked about discussing is mental health, because I am never shy about my mental health. And I'm never shy also about the fact that Jenn has been with me while I've worked through it, confronted it, everything like that. So like when I had to go to an in-person clinic, Jenn drove me. And I always like, whenever I'm like, talk about how much like me and Jenn are friends and how close we are, I just always recount the fact that when I was on the phone to get a bed at this in-person clinic in the end of 2019, that like she was sitting right next to me just crying right along, and I'm like, that's a friend that you need in your life, like someone who cares enough to be like, I'm gonna come pick you up, I'm gonna cry with you, and I'm gonna take you, we're gonna get you some KFC.
That was after actually.
Popeyes.
No, we did go to Popeyes.
I know. I was
like
saying KFC. I would never say not KFC.
Like your last meal before.
But yeah, like, and so I'm always thankful for Jenn's role in my mental health journey, because I know that not a lot of people get such a supportive person. So I'm forever grateful for it. But I'm also not the first person that you've encountered that has, everybody's encountered someone with mental health, but I'm not the first person that you've intimately encountered with any type of like mental health or addictive habits.
Yeah.
Do you have some of that either in family, friends? Can you share?
Yeah. So yeah, my brother was a drug addict for, of what I know of, since he was probably the age of like 21, 22, all the way to maybe like 32, like so almost 10 years, maybe a little less. he's clean now, but he still has his struggles very much. And, you know, I was young and we're 5 years apart. We never have had a super close relationship at all. Not one, I mean, I wish we did, but not one to where, you know, I can call him up and check in. It's just texts here and there. I think we kind of catch up more when I'm home.
Yeah.
And my dad has a long line of years of alcoholism. And, you know, he used to drink in front of me when we were kids all the time. And, you know, you don't think anything of that as a kid. I think just he then became more of a secret alcoholic. And when my parents would fight and leave, and he would go to a bar and drink or drink in his car or whatever. I mean, rough stuff. I mean, I've seen my dad get a DUI in front of me. I've had to bail him out. Like things have been really tough. And that was a young age for me to see that. And at the time I was going through a really bad relationship as well. So it was a lot of chaos in that household when I graduated from college and moved back home. So yeah, I mean, my brother is, I'm hoping he is. I mean, all you can do is trust and take the word, right? But I also haven't seen him do the work. So he doesn't go, he used to go to NA classes, but not anymore. You know, I don't see him, he doesn't thrive as much. Unfortunately, that's just not, he's an introvert. I'm the extrovert. He just doesn't put the effort into himself and helping himself and bettering himself. You know, he still unfortunately lives at home with my parents, and that always provides stress to me, even though it shouldn't, because I always think about what's going to happen when my parents pass away and where's he going to go.
Yeah.
So, and it's because he hasn't, you know, really helped himself and get, you know, he has a great job. He's finally transitioned into a great job. And it's kind of crazy that he asked me for help, you know? So I love it. I was so happy that he did, and that I helped him with his resume and helping him like prep for this interview and get the job. But it kind of makes you think like, shouldn't I be doing this, you know, to you? Cause you're my older brother.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're only 5 years apart. That's not a huge difference. And, you know, but I have to remember too, like he didn't live the life that I lived. You know, he didn't grow up the way that I did because he chose a different path with drugs.
Well, and like the thing to remember though is like, even though it is, it's only 5 years apart and whatever, it still also places you in a position of like, because I mean, as you know, like we have like similar backgrounds in terms of just like our roles in family or whatever. And so like, because I've had that too, where I'm like, well, I'm the baby, so like technically, like all y'all grown adults, like you should be figuring this out,
right?
But the fact is that even though you're able to show up for him and it shouldn't be that big of a deal that he's only 5 years older, it still places you in a position where you have one less person that you can rely on.
Right.
Because they potentially need you.
Right.
Which can, even if we don't think about it, it still, I think, can like weigh on you or like just sit on you like as a thing.
I mean, like, I didn't, even think about it that way, but yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends that have just another sibling, whether it's sister or brother, and I see their relationships and how close they are. And I know we've talked about this like yesterday and how similar our families are, as you're saying, but I mean, it makes me sad that we don't have that relationship, you know, that we're not that close to, you know, shoot the shit. I know Sarah doesn't curse. I'm a big cursor, so sorry out there.
She's not big. It's not big. It's not much.
It's just, you know, every other side. But yeah, like I wish we could do that. And, you know, he could call me to be like, hey, I have this issue, or like, what can I do? Or vice versa, you know, or vent about our parents and how they're annoying us, like how you're saying. Like, I mean, but we don't have that. And it's taken me a while. It took me a while with my therapist to like be okay with that.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think I think about it often, but, and it's like, you know, I have my mom and that I turn to, but also our relationship is something else too. So it's, so, I mean, with the addiction at that time, I did not handle it well at all. You know, I mean, I was young. I was mad. I was selfish. I was angry. I was sad. I've always been this way. Anytime that my parents would fight when I was little, I would always be out there, like in the mix of it, kind of like I was breaking it up in a sense, but I really was just sitting on the stairs crying because I was so sad. And you would find my brother just in his room, just ignoring it all.
Yeah.
So, and that's literally how our lives still are. So I'm still like into it, all the mix, you know, he's living there, but you know, when my parents fight, I mean, he's told me like, you know, I don't see it. I don't watch it, you know, kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, you've been doing that since you were like, you know, 6 or whatever. So I had to get out of there. I was being really nasty to my parents. And so that's hence why I moved to California. It was always a dream of mine, but it was a pusher. And it was like, I need to get out of this toxic environment and I need to just worry about myself because nobody around me is worrying about one, me, or two, themselves in this environment. And my parents are huge enablers, even if they would never admit it. But clearly, if my brother is still living at home, you're doing something to keep him there. So I just really want the best, like, for him. And those are just like my worries about it. And you know, now that I'm older, we've definitely chatted about it. But like I said, it's really hard for me to believe in someone that has lied to me, has stolen from me, has stolen from like my family and friends. And that's, I don't know whenever I would be able to like truly forgive him.
What do you think forgiveness feels like? Because I was thinking about this like last month or the month before, whatever. And I was like, does forgiveness feel like you like literally don't give a crap at all? Like you could see the person or talk about something and you're like, oh, I have literally no feelings. Or is it, I still feel like a ping of something, but I can move on from it. Like I can drop the thought. Like
that's not for me because I'm always the thinker. I'm always thinking. I could not be like, you know, I could drop the thought or whatever. Like it is literally like just feeling at peace. You know, I can be around my brother. I can have a great conversation with him. But in the back of my head, I'm always thinking about like everything that he's put us through. And are you on drugs now? And, you know, I go into his room. I feel like a mom. I go into his room when I come home and I'm like, is that weed?
Is that,
you know,
like, is that still seeking forgiveness? Or do you think that's just trust? Like a lack of trust?
Well, it's definitely a lack of trust. I think it's just forgiveness on certain things. Cause I mean, now that I think about it, like, I don't know if I've ever gotten an apology from my brother, you know, like I've gotten apologies from him when he's high or like when he's done wrong. Right. But like, I mean, I never gotten an apology from him. And then of course it comes to the trust of where it's like, I'm going to change my life and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm one that's like, I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. And I never saw it. And I mean, this is the first time with him transitioning from a job to a career. Now I like see hope for him. And I think that's like my path to start forgiving him for like what he's done, because I see you're bettering yourself. Like, I guess it's just like, those are the kind of things I need to see, because then if you're bettering yourself, you're going to realize, hopefully you kind of realize what you've really actually did to like myself, to me and my family, and really hurting us.
I think another question I've been thinking about with like the forgiveness thing is forgiveness like where you fully forgive the other person, or you forgive yourself for either facilitating or hoping or trusting or whatever? Because like I know if I'm ever like mad at someone, or if I feel hurt by someone, part of me is like, I'm really mad at myself for like buying into that.
Yeah.
Like, and so I wonder sometimes if like a part of forgiveness is being like, I may not trust you and I can let you go live your life, but also like, I also really forgive the fact that like, I hoped something that I technically didn't have a basis to like hope on. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like more of an exploration, like thought, because I haven't figured it out.
Right. Yet. I think the first thing that comes to my mind when you do say that is because I've learned a lot in talking with my therapist about acceptance and like in accepting people for who they are. And like how we talked about, like if you're not going to change. So I can't blame myself for hoping, or, forgive myself for hoping, because why? I can accept the reasonings behind of thinking that, like, you know what? Okay, I can accept that you're hoping for something like this, and you need to accept that it's okay that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You can't like forgive yourself for that, because you didn't do anything wrong. You were
I
hoping.
mean, yeah.
But I think with him, and forgiving him is, for me, because I've just seen so many, just downfalls with him, that I just want to see him do the right thing, and like be responsible for his life. And when you take responsibility, I think you have more of a clear head at sometimes realizing like how I've destroyed other people's lives when I was on drugs or whatnot.
It's crazy how much like just someone making amends can like fix so much, like it was what, 2 years ago, 2019. It was 2019 or 2020. It doesn't matter. Where like me and my dad have worked so hard on our relationship.
Right.
And then we were at dinner at whatever that place is by King Soopers downtown. And he was like, I realized that my actions have affected you. And I was like, yeah. Like, I feel like everybody's actually only said that, but okay. And like, but him just like owning it, like finally, I was like, it was the apology I didn't realize I needed for the past like 21 years,
right.
Like,
and how did you feel? Did you feel like a weight was lifted off your shoulders? Like you didn't realize there was a chunk there that like needed to be filled of an apology.
You know what it is? It's, and I'm realizing this with like the family stuff now, that it's the fact that I fought for myself to be seen and heard for so long. And I was fighting someone who I thought would just receive me.
Right.
But then it felt like they were fighting against me to make it seem like my stuff wasn't like if I felt like I was like, can you see me? And they're like, honestly, I'm going to give you 18 reasons why I refuse to see you. And I was like, this seems like an unnecessary battle, but okay.
Right.
And so like, the minute that someone owns it, it feels like finally they're like, you know what? Yeah. Actually, there's no reason for me to fight this. My bad. I see you.
Right. Because you've been fighting for all these years.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, there's no long story short behind this, but my family home burned down when I was in California, and my parents and my brother were in the house when the fire happened. And unfortunately, my brother is the one who started it, and because he was smoking outside of his room. And this is when I think he was still, doing drugs, and he was just very disrespectful to my parents' home, and it would make me so mad. And I was so shocked by my reaction actually with that. I mean, I was super sad. I was scared that, I was about to find out that my family died in a fire, but they fortunately escaped and did not. But we lost our home, and I didn't have any closure with it. And I was really angry at not having closure with like saying goodbye to my childhood home. And I was never mad at my brother. Like, and I think it was because I just knew already of all the stuff that was like going on with him, and everyone already knowing. And I mean, he was at like the deep level. And I was like, well, what, me adding on to that, what's that going to do? That's not going to solve any problem,
Sure.
But I was never mad at him. I felt really bad for him. That's what it was. I just felt really bad for him. And it was just because it was like, I don't even know if this is your rock bottom to realize that you just burnt down our house.
That's true.
To get your shit together.
That's
and
true.
So I think if I even got an apology about that, like talking about it all the time, I'm just like, I kind of guess I do have a little hole that needs to be patched there with that for him to apologize. Like, I'm so sorry that like I burned down the house and you never, got to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And my mom knows that like we've rebuilt. It's not the same house. It's completely different. And I don't feel like it's home anymore.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like that has been taken away from me, and he doesn't look at it like, he's never seen it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I also think, I definitely coddle my brother too. So, anyone out there that does, have family with it, you go through so many emotions just along with the emotions that any addict is going through.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've coddled him to where it's like, I'm not going to tell him like all my feelings because he's going through so much right now. And I don't want him to go off the deep end as much as I get scared with you, like, I don't want to make you depressed to where you want to go and kill yourself, like, or not take your medicine or anything like that. Like, I mean, I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior and a warrior. That's a hard one. Anyways, but yeah, I get it from my mom, and that's exactly how she is. I mean, seeing my mom walk in that house with me when we could still walk in and salvage some things. Is it salvage? Salvage. Yeah. Some things. She was calm as a cucumber.
Really?
And I just cried, and I cried because she was so calm. And I was like, how? Because she felt like she needed to be so strong. And that's where I think my anger kind of built a little bit too towards my brother on that, because I was like, how dare he make my mom be the strong one for this, like. And
also it's like kind of the like, there's been a slow build where this person isn't allowed to emote because of everything in the line. Like, which is unfair. And that does make me like wonder. So I was thinking about this as like with your brother or me, like what are some of your biggest like misunderstandings about addiction or mental health, depression, and what are some of your biggest like frustrations? I mean, and you can talk specifically about me because I don't get offended. No. Like, but like, because I'm sure, like, I always obviously can only speak from the place of someone who's struggling with stuff, right? Or like the journey from like struggle to like surviving, thriving, whatever. But we obviously don't have enough people who, because I'm sure a lot of people, if they're like, I don't understand, or I don't get it, or I feel frustrated, it's like, well, it's not the time or place for me to like
say something.
Yeah.
Right. It's not about you, it's about them kind of thing. What was the first question? I feel like we had a two-parter here.
Misunderstandings
about mental health or about like addiction,
mental health, all stuff.
I mean, I had no education on it. I mean, I had no education on it. I think you were my first person to actually really give me education on it. I mean, I didn't even know you were suicidal until I was out in California, about to actually move here when you started transitioning to like tell people about mental health and things like that. I mean, we were really good friends, and I'm like, how did I not know that? Yeah. I think like, I also just feel like it's like one of those things where it's like, don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. Like, you just like turn your back to it and you're like, I don't really want to hear it, kind of like.
It's not a fun conversation.
It's not a fun conversation. And I mean, hearing your brother throw up in the bathroom because he took drugs that did not settle well, or whatever the symptoms are. I mean, that was really hard for me to like hear, I wanted to better myself in knowing what he was going through. So I took actually a alcohol and drug class in my senior year of college, and to get like a better understanding. Of course, I was in there with like a lot of sororities and fraternities because they had to take it. And I was actually I loved that class. Oh yes, I loved that. I mean, passed with flying colors. I mean, one, it was really easy, but two, because I didn't know a lot of things. I mean, especially to what I was doing to my body and with alcohol, because I do drink, and but like also just it kind of made me more aware, because the whole, a lot of people are out there that don't believe, that this is a disease. Yeah. And it is a disease. And that really opened my eyes to realize that with alcohol and drugs. And, my dad has a really bad disease, and unfortunately he cannot kick it. And I'm hoping my brother is now clean, but I mean, he still has the disease in him. It's just about having the hope and staying on track and getting your life better. So I wasn't educated on it, and I didn't care to educate myself because I was so mad and sad and all the feels.
And I think like most people don't want to, also because it's just like not a fun topic. Right. And like once you start, if you like watch video or documentaries or whatever, it's like gross, but also just like soul sucking. Oh, because you're like looking at these people that are like having really bad side effects to a drug, and you're like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah.
they're choosing this, like,
Yeah. Oh,
and they're
yeah.
gonna go do the same thing tomorrow. Like that's crazy, you know? Like, it just it sucks like a lot of like the humanity kind of like out of you when you watch that stuff. That's why I don't watch document.
Yeah, Euphoria I've been watching, and it's been real hard because it definitely, like, I mean, it's so relatable for me. So it's hard to watch, but I again watch it because I think it somehow brings me like I'm not alone in the world to like go through like that, you know, because there's so many people that go through it. And but with, you know, what did you said? I was like, I'm misunderstood, and then the
like misunderstandings and then frustration.
The frustration, that, oof, that emotion really hit hard. I was so frustrated with him to where that's where I was like, I just don't understand how you just can't stop. Like you literally have decisions, yes or no, you know, like, and that was my frustration. And honestly, it comes from my control that I have because I could not control the situation. And then watching, you know, my parents enable it and not, and when I say enable it, it's not like they went out and bought drugs for him.
No, but
you know, like I would tell my mom, hey, I think he's smoking pot because, you know, I'm 16 and I know what pot smells like, you know, and she'd be like, no, he's not. And I'm like, okay. Or like, hey, he's smoking in the room, or hey, he stole this from me. And, you know, it's like, I understand it's, I don't have a child. So that was the hard thing. Oh God, deep path we're going down. To hop off that one, that was the hardest thing for me to where I would coddle him a little bit is because I didn't have a child and I still don't have a child.
Yeah.
So watching my parents do what they did, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I will be the exact same if this was happening to me. And I know my personality and I do not doubt it.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen my mom kick my brother out once, and guess who told her to call him back? Me. And that's when I realized I have to get out of here.
Oh yeah. I like you're like, guess who? And I was like, your dad.
Was it your dad? No. Yeah.
Well, and I know not to like to pivot or switch or anything, but like you recently-ish, past like 6 months or whatever, like voiced a frustration with me where you're like I'm the one that you call, and yet now you're like entertaining people who have facilitated you being at your worst. Like, don't effing do that crap, you know, like, which it was like when you brought that up, like when I was going to like hang out with Jay and I was like, it's not that big of a deal. And you're like, this is disrespectful. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, think about it. I'm like, you know, she's right. Like, because the fact is that if I do relapse and I do get like depressed again and all this stuff, she is the one that's going to be like, okay, let me pick you up, let me help you with this. So like what type of frustrations do you have in terms of like with the people themselves? Because I know in my history I've been dead horses. I have been the negative Nelly. I have like I know that I have definitely tested relationships when I personally just couldn't get myself out of a hole. So like what stuff like that.
Yeah. I think my frustrations, you know, I'm thinking at my younger stage and now older stage, because you literally are the only person in like my stage to where I've had my therapist for long enough to talk through these things and work through them and like not lash out on you and voice to you. I mean, I know I'm harsh on it, but it's, you know, to where you got it. It's just to where it's like, it's not going to ruin our relationship. In the past, with me being younger, could have ruined our relationship, you know? The frustrations, I mean, that come up in my mind instantly is, I mean, it's the choices, right? Like where it's like to me, it's an easy yes and no, or no, because it's a yes or no. Like, that's your choice. Like that is your choice and you chose wrong. Where, hello, I have made wrong choices. They just, you know, weren't drug choices or, you know, or alcohol, like poor choices, which,
or in my case, sex.
That was college or sex. I think what comes of the frustration and instantly think about it is how you're saying, like, disrespecting the people around you. because you're just out for yourself, right? Like as an addict, you are literally out for yourself, as we all are. But like sober or not an addict, like, I mean, or just as a good human being, we do think of others, you know, we help others, we, you know, we want to be there for others, we want to be their support system, we want to be their friend, family, all of that. And when you are an addict, you do not think of any of that stuff. And
you just get good at hiding it if you think it's gonna bother someone.
Exactly. And that is what frustrated me the most, because it would just be 360 circle, a whole like roundabout all the time of just the same thing, you know, with my brother. Yeah, I'm gonna get clean, never get clean. Yeah, I'm gonna like do better. Yeah, I'll stop smoking inside the house. You burn down our house. Like it, you know, you've disrespected me so many times, and I mean, lied to my face. I mean, I think that's what frustrated me too. I was like, damn, how can you be that good of a liar? Like me, I'd be like, I feel so guilty. Like I held on to that so long, you know? But man, like that's why it's so hard. That my brother is such a phenomenal liar. You know, so and with you, that's why I think I really like poke at you to be like, are you telling me the truth? Are you telling me the truth? Because of that, and also because you have lied to me.
Well, and I try to pride myself on I tell the technical truth.
Let's go. Yes. Sorry about that noise, but yes, Sarah Hibbs is notorious for like, well, you didn't ask it this way, so I told you. You
got to ask the exact thing that you want to know the answer to. Yeah. Like because then I'm like, technically I didn't lie. You know, like, but I will say I am fortunate where I feel like you can tell when I am doing my little like dance around it, and then I'm like, ta-da! And you're like, nah, go back, and I'm like, ah, yeah, I did it. Like, you know, like, but it's also like I think that there's like at least a freedom for me where I feel like I can be honest with you, and you're gonna be like, I don't think that's a good idea. But you're also not going to be like, I'm so tired. You know, like, and so there's like a safety where I can still, because it holds me accountable. And the fact is that like, you know, like sex addiction, it only has become like a thing in the past like 10 years, really. Not like has become, but it's become more widely known, right? Like, because I remember when like David Duchovny like came out as like a sex addict, people were like, oh god, like it's just you got caught. And then Tiger Woods, same thing, and people were like, he just got caught. And like, and so like, and it's crazy because it's the same situation as like with like alcoholism, right? Like people are like, well, I only binge drink until I'm blackout drunk on the weekends. So I'm obviously not an alcoholic because I don't drink every day, you know, or like, and like I know people who are like, yeah, I mean, I can go on dates, wait a whole month to have sex, but I will have sex with a stranger at the drop of a dime, right? And like, it's what becomes dangerous and unhealthy and toxic and destructive and escalates in its nature. And it's funny because like this is the most control I have ever had over my sexual health and relationships and whatever. And it's still actually is like almost every day I have to have like a like some conversations with myself. Cause like there are so many times where I'm like, man, I wasn't having fun before, but I was less lonely than I am now. Or my phone was blown up a lot more than it is now. Like, and then there are just times where I'm like, F it, I'm doing all this work and I feel like I'm still kind of just nowhere. So like, F this, I'm calling that guy and I'm doing this and like, whatever. And so it's crazy, like how much of it goes on within you. And then like there are times where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna skirt that line. I am gonna go talk to this person. I'm not gonna do anything, but I'm just gonna talk to them because like I just want to keep that door just slightly open. And like, so it's so nice to have someone who can be like, I feel like you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, and you're like, what? No, you know, like because then it's like, thank you, like, yes, I need someone to like be like, close the freaking door, you know, like, you know,
I mean, no, it's important to have like those people in your life. I mean, that is what's 100% important in to have in your life, of people that support you and that are going to be there for you and that are going to be, you know, not, if you're like, hey, I'm having a hard time, and just be like, ugh, again, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's, those are not the people. Don't get me wrong. We definitely have those times, but it's like, I mean, how Sarah was saying, it's like comes to a point where it's like, you know, you're doing wrong, like of going to see this guy over and over and over again. So I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how much I can like take any more of it. I'm still going to be here, but if you're going to call me to cry about it, be like, sorry, no, you've already used your 20th ticket.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like,
which is so funny because I feel like whenever I have to show up for people who are like depressed or like in a relapse space, I'm like, I don't have the energy for this. Like, don't, like I already told you what to go do. Like F, you know? And so I'm like, how do I have such a low capacity for it?
Yeah.
But like, then like I have friends who have like this giant capacity for it. So I'm like, I know I've said the same thing on repeat. I'm going to die alone. I'm going to die alone. I'm going to die alone. You know, like.
Yeah. But you know what I always think about is a lot lately, which I'm trying to change my mindset to it, is, and honest, like it could be more from listening to your podcast and like showing up for people. Cause I will say, I mean, in starting my business, I have definitely learned who's there for me and who's not there for me. And I've distanced myself from that and have accepted to be okay with that. And so, oh man, wow.
Do you just?
Yeah, the ADD just really walked in there. It was like, you need a moment.
As I like to say, the little blue guys like switch the track.
I'm like, I even took my medicine today. I'm like, wow, it's really not working. But no, I was gonna say is that of really having just like that space of me. This is it.
Right, showing up.
Yeah, showing up. You can please edit this. So
I probably won't. But
you're like, this is the comedy special. But me showing up where I'm like, if this was in reverse, would this person show up for me? And if I say yes, then I'm like, then I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And then I think about it, even if it's a no, I'm like, but do you want to be that person that's like, she never shows up for me, you know? So I've really turned my mindset to that, to where like how, I'll be honest, like this week, I mean, we were having a hard time, and I'm out of all my friends, I may be the best at like checking in, but it's like once every month or every other month. And with you, I mean, I was so busy on Tuesday, and I was like, no, you will take a moment out of your day,
which I really valued
you. But that's where I was like, my mindset is trying to go there to, you know, you need to find friends that are going to do that for you. And if you don't, that is okay. I mean, they're there in your life for a reason, but for a different reason. And you don't go to them for bigger things like this. You know, I don't think a lot of my friends even know about they know about like my brother was a drug addict, and I don't think a lot of them know about my dad and you know, about the house burning down. They know it was my brother, but when my friends talk like they know about it, ooh, does that piss me off? That really does. Oh, I get heated about it, because I'm like, you've never shown up for me, you've never asked like about it, like you've never wanted to know the details about it, you know. It's again uncomfortable. Turn around. You probably are, and I have a handful of other people that actually have like wanted to engage in the conversation and know a little bit about it.
Well, you know, even like you saying this makes me feel like, you know, I have to make sure I'm doing a better job of just like not just be like, how are you doing, but like also like how is your family doing? How are you feeling? You know, like I need to do a better job of that. Like
I think we all can.
I mean, we definitely all can. And we all have our strengths and weaknesses, you know, like I definitely, like I tell people all the time, I'm like, I am not a good friend traditionally. I will always forget where you went to school, what job you have. I don't know anything, but like you call me at 3 a.m., I'm on it. If like, you're like, Sarah, like stop me from drinking. The minute I get tipsy, I'm like, boom, sign a tipsy, done. We're on it. Like I know you, but I don't know you.
Right. Like, I don't care to know you. I just can't know the core of you.
When's your birthday? Great for you. You know, like,
oh yeah, she still doesn't even know.
Oh, I'm so bad.
But no, that's very you. And I tell Zane that all the time. I'm like, she is one of my most loyal friends that would do anything.
I'll kill Zane for you.
I know you would.
That beautiful head of hair.
That could come back to us.
On the day where we have to plan his death, like
Did you say this on this date? That's not us. We have the recording.
But no, like
yeah.
it's, yeah, no, like it's, and I think like that is the one thing that, like, as we were just recently talking about, it's hard for me to be like, Jen is like a sister to me, and that is great. And I don't have to then be like, and it sucks that
Yeah.
like my family, or you know, like
Right.
it can just be like, Jen is like a sister to me.
Yeah.
Like that can stand on its own, and it doesn't have to be elevated or demeaned with anything outside of it. Which, like, I think that like I can tend to do, because I'll be like I wish that this didn't have to be the case. Like I wish that, like, you know, maybe my sister or my brother, or like, you know, like, but it can just be like, no, like Jen is like a sister to me, and that is super duper, because not everybody has that.
No.
And
true.
you know, it reminds me also of like something I've been talking to my clients about lately, the good wolves and the bad wolves. I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's like this little story thing, where this, sorry, I just got it because her whole foot is in her mouth. It's just ridiculous. like my brain was like keep going, skip over it, but I couldn't.
Those little women.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
one was like keep going, and the bird like but yeah, like so there's this like little story proverb thing about how, and of course, who knows if it's true? It was probably written by some random white guy, but he's like, there's an old Cherokee man who was sitting at a fire with his grandson, and the grandfather said, you know, there are two wolves, one evil, one good, and then he lists a bunch of traits from the evil one, like resentment, anger, selfishness, blah blah blah, regret, and then he lists a bunch for the good, right? I can't remember any of them, but they're all good. And the grandson says, which one wins? He was saying that there's one of each inside of us. I'm really bad at recounting things on the go. So, but there's one of each inside of us. And he lists the traits, and then the grandson says, which one wins? And the grandfather says, the one you feed, right? And so I've been talking to my clients about like shifting the perspective on that a little bit, where we have to think about like, okay, if my good wolf is generosity, we have to be really aware of that, because the opposite of that is then obviously selfishness and resentment. And if we exit a situation where someone takes for granted our generosity, and we think it's my fault for being generous, we are inherently already feeding the opposite, right? Because now we feel like we have to shut down a good part of ourselves to protect ourselves, which will inherently just make us more selfish, because like I can't put myself out for you. And I'm like, the thing isn't to demean or shut down the good part of you. The thing is to accept that it very much is, and it comes with its own risks and rewards. And so like, and obviously we just have to be discerning. So it's like, maybe I can't go around and give everybody all of my time because I don't have enough of it in a day. However, if I give someone some of me, or if I show up in these ways, I am risking that they won't receive it fully, or that they will be like, thank you, and like leave. And that says more about them than it says about me. And it's not that big of a deal. Like that, it is who I am, right? Like, but we tend to have like, and I don't actually know what specifically you said that made me think of this, but I'm on it now. So, but like we tend to do that, where like we get really protective of the good parts of us, but then being protective of it doesn't allow it to shine.
Right.
You know, man, I really wish I remember what you said.
Well, I was kind of talking about like, you know,
showing up.
Yeah. Well, oh my God, the name of the show.
I mean, I only say it 1,000 times a day, so you would think I would know it.
Oh
but,
man.
So yeah, that's the end of that whole
deal with.
So okay, I'm curious, because I don't want to keep you forever, because you know I could.
Girl, I feel like we can just keep talking.
I mean,
I have a whole hour more set aside for you.
I mean,
who would have thought?
Who would have thought? So okay, what is we're completely shifting. What is the hardest part of wedding planning?
Wow, we are shifting.
Well,
I kind of wanted to plug something else in about relationships.
Oh yeah, look.
Can we do that quickly? This might
Stop.
be a two-parter.
Rewind. Play.
Two-parter. I was gonna say with addiction, which I mean, you can relate to this 100% because one, yours is sex addiction and goes to relationships as well.
And just so how good it feels, even though it's so bad, but it's so good.
But and chatting about with, you know, a lot of people I think question all the time, and I have learned this from Wendy. Shout out to her, from my therapist. She is amazing.
Oh, I was like, Williams?
Wendy Williams. No, Wendy Sells. She's amazing. She's in California and she does do a FaceTime if you ever want a therapist recommendation.
Cool.
But yeah, she really had me learn and see, because all of my relationships, I was choosing them based off of addiction, because that is what and we've talked about this. Mm-hmm. That is how I knew how to cope with things. That's how I knew how to, putting this in quotes, run things, and have control over. Like, that was my environment. That was my world. So I'm gonna say my first real boyfriend, he struggled really hard with alcohol, and he was just really, unfortunately, just kind of a little disrespectful more in the end of our relationship. And then, you know, my other relationship I had was, he's a great guy. Still, I would consider him as like a really good friend. But he loved weed. I mean, that technically is a drug. I mean, it's a drug addiction. And, he knew how much I didn't like it. I mean, and we would fight about it. So it's like, I literally was in the spinning image of my parents kind of fighting. Yeah. And being in the addiction world of what I lived in. Yeah. So, and then, you know, with Zane and I now, I mean, we've had a long talk about this, but his was, you know, with alcohol and how much he consumed. He's not, you know, an alcoholic where he drinks every day at all. It's just how much he consumes with it. Mm-hmm. And when we do go out and whatnot. So that was that was an eye opener for me, that I never realized that I was choosing men that resembled my brother and my dad in the world that I lived in. Mm-hmm. It blows my mind. So I'm sure if I had that information back when I ended my first relationship, who knows where I would have, you know. You would have been in exactly the same place, because you would have been like, no, I don't. Yeah, probably. Exactly. I'd be like, let's lie. So, I mean, here we are, we're like saying, but we are working on it. I mean, we've really, really worked on it. And he's the first man that has actually, like, you know, heard me, accepted me. And when I tell them, like, hey, this is kind of like the background I come from, and it's usually just like washing the rug. I'm very disrespected by it. Yeah. Like, they don't care. They aren't going to change. Like, I'm sorry that you had those issues, you know. That ain't my problem. Right. And I mean, I know, you know, because like my very first therapist, I like sat down and I was like, here's how this is going to go. Because a lot of people don't realize, but addicts are control freaks. We just try to control in such a way that becomes super destructive. But like, I was like, here's what we're going to do. And don't tell me I have daddy issues, blah, blah. And then she was like, okay. So like, okay. And then like a couple weeks later, she's like, so you have daddy issues? I was like, that ain't true. Like, and then my last therapist, Pari, who is also super great, woman of color, in case anybody needs that. She was the one that she was like, oh no, you don't have daddy issues. I was like, thank you, because that first check was crazy. She goes, you have mommy issues. She was like, you're dating your mom and your dad, but in one. And I was like, that seems aggressive, but yeah, it's okay. Like she laid down like, I don't know, like a jack, and then you got the ace. Whatever. I'm not a card player. Well, yeah, she was like, you date men who are emotionally distant like your father, and you coddle them and nurture them like you do your mother. And I was like, you know, you're saying that and I'm hearing it and I'm seeing it. Like, but it's like, it's the same thing. Like, you know how to operate in this space. Mm-hmm. And it's what I tell like people about depression. I'm like, it's like, no one is having fun when they're depressed. Right. Like, and no one's like, I want to wake up depressed tomorrow. Right. But God forbid, if you hope for a better day tomorrow,
And what if it's worse than today? Ugh, like I probably won't exist. I cannot handle that. You know, like, so you're like, I'm just gonna do everything to make sure it kind of just stays right here.
Right.
Because it's like, if it goes here, it can only go here.
Right.
Like, and then it's the same thing with like relationships. Like, it's so crazy how much we self-sabotage in relationships, realizing it and not realizing it, because I can almost guarantee, like, I mean, I won't speak for you. I will only speak for myself, where all of my relationships, all like 3 and 1.1 of them, I have I I have had moments where I'm like, I don't think this is gonna work out. And I was like, but if I try hard enough, it will, you know, like, and so it's like,
oh yes,
the minute that you are like, this ain't gonna work out, technically you should be like, oh, I should probably leave. I should invite myself to exit. And instead you like hunker in, because it is fulfilling a prophecy that you have created for yourself, of like comfort and content and limiting. And one of the things that you said about like with guys being like, oh, that sounds like a you problem, is what I tell all my clients with their boundaries. I'm like, listen, your boundaries are yours. They are not anybody else's. However, they can let you know who should be around you. And I'm like, I am very sensitive to people not responding to my texts or calls. Like, and I know it's a me problem. I know exactly where it comes from. If you, like, I mean, we've been there. Like, if a friend doesn't respond to my text within like a couple hours, I'm like, well, they're either dead or I'm never seeing them again. Like,
so dramatic.
I don't know which one it is. I don't know which one I prefer. You know, like, but like I used to always be in that space, because like everything felt like abandonment to me. And then when I started realizing that like Jenn's not dead, and she also is probably she's gonna see me, because she keeps texting back or calling back and be like, hey, sorry, I was working. I started building that, like, if someone doesn't call me back, they're probably working. It's okay. You know, like, but then I'm still allowed to have that thing be sensitive. I also just have to make sure I'm checking it, like keeping it in check. But then I also can communicate that to people. Hey, this is not a you thing, it's a me thing. I get really sensitive when people don't respond to my text, leave me on read, whatever. So can you just consider that in your communication with me? And the people who are like, yeah, I'm just like really bad at texting, so sorry. It's like,
drop them quickly.
Goodbye.
Like, you do not need them in your life.
Because it's completely fine if someone's like, I'm really bad at texting. I will seriously try to make an effort.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
The negative to the positive.
We need a comedy podcast, and we also need a do better.
Get your ass in
Don't
shape.
That guy.
Exactly. I know easier said than done, because clearly we do not have a good history of where we've been.
I mean, what is my record now? Except for 5 days, I've been single for 12 years.
Yeah, you definitely take the cake. Sure, I'll give you that. But
it's been a minute, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Prince Charming's coming.
You know what? What I like to believe is like every Valentine's Day, I just imagine that like my guy is out there just honing his skills.
Oh yeah.
He's honing them.
He's working on your list.
And God is just like, you're doing great, but you're not quite there. You're still baking.
Yeah, no.
Also, you need maybe 1 or 2 more tattoos, because my girl like that. And for some reason, I can't get her to look at anybody without a tattoo.
I cannot. But yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to plug in, because I'm sure lots of people can relate on that.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people actually realize that
that's why
in their relationship.
That's why the why, asking yourself the why, is so important. Because as I like to say, why is a provocative question, but it is not a productive question. It just provokes the like, yeah, why the F do I let this guy talk to me like this?
Exactly.
Or whatever.
I'm gonna tell you are better off, or even a woman talking to you like that.
Yes. Sorry.
Not just
to my gentlemen.
Because
you could be with a man or a woman.
We are crazy and we get nasty.
There's intersex, non-binary. I'll be honest, there's so many at this point that I cannot keep track. But any human person.
Yes, any human person. If you're questioning it, do not be scared. I know it's a scary decision, but you will be making the best decision of your life.
I have so many analogies. I won't even go into them.
No.
Because once I get started,
the other topic that you're talking about,
I guess I can't stop.
It was it was a wedding planning question.
Yeah.
I forgot.
What's really hard about being a
Pivoting.
wedding planner?
Ooh, what's really hard about being a wedding planner?
Is it preparing for the day that you
No, I love
do
that
my
stuff.
wedding and
Ugh.
you have to blow
Sarah
my
has
thoughts out?
so many mood boards, I can't even.
The problem is that I actually don't. I just keep telling you what to save and then you don't save it because you tell me to save it. I don't save it because I forget.
I don't save it because your whole.
That's what I just said.
I was like,
you don't save it.
Oh, I thought you were saying I don't save it, so I hope you save it.
I say save it, and then you're like, I'm not going to save it. You save it.
When she talks about her wedding, I just zone out because I'm just like, we're going to talk about this when it happens, and your whole vision probably has changed.
No, it hasn't.
Okay. Back to this. So
exactly.
the hardest thing, honestly,
Mhm.
I think this maybe it won't be a shocker, but it's nothing to do with my work. It's with sometimes my couples. I was just talking to Zane and somebody else about this, another vendor, and I do consultation calls with my couples before they book me to see if we're a great fit.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can instantly know, like, this one's going to be a little bit more difficult or a little high maintenance, and there's some that are not, and we click, and then they actually are the ones that are high maintenance.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, I love them all. They've all been great. And we, some I'm good friends with, and some we part ways, of course. But I think the hardest thing that I just didn't realize was, all these different personalities
Mhm.
that like you take on, when you find relationships or friends or whatever, you pick your friends because you click.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are your people, that. But as a wedding planner, I know I do these consultation calls to fit, but like a one call for 30 minutes to an hour, I'm not going to know if we're going to really click until we really deep dive into like work, and we're talking all the time.
Yeah.
And so that has definitely been an eye opener, and definitely a hard thing for me to process, because it's been very much practicing my patience and very much changing my attitude towards things. And, clients have always been, that's the world I've always worked in my careers. It's like, these are your clients, and, whatever they want, they get. And that is my motto at the end of the day. But I also I stick up for myself a lot more than I used to, towards, you can't talk to me like that, or, you can't, my time is very valuable as well. So please don't disrespect it. Like, I'm not going to disrespect yours. I'm very big about that, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing I really realized too, is like, people don't value your time, or, so yeah. And you probably can relate to this. This is a huge topic, which I will not put it up on Instagram. So hopefully none of my couples listen to it. But no, it's more about just in general about being an entrepreneur. A lot of people think you do nothing. We do work, people. I want to let you know, we work 24/7. We have our own hours. That is the benefit behind having your own business, right? You make your own schedule, but we bust our butts just like you do at your 9 to 5, 9 to 10, whatever hours you have, just at your job. And I have found a lot this year that I just feel very disrespected on the fact of, I'm just sitting around, looking at my inbox, just waiting for emails to do work. That is not the case. I barely have time to look at my emails.
It's so funny. Because I was just discussing this with Jordan Pendleton, who's
the actor. What's the actor's name? Jordan something. We'll look it up after.
My mouth was trying to form it because my brain was
what's his name?
Yeah,
like that guy.
Keenan and Peele. Jordan Peele. That's his name.
Jordan Peele.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I knew that's who you were talking about. My mouth was like, I'm seeing L, I'm seeing E. Anyway, and so because I was like, we were talking about the fact that I feel like a lot of pressure comes from other entrepreneurs, where people are like, "Oh, are you full time?" And you're like, "No," and they're like, "Oh, I've been full time for like 5 years," and you're like, "Okay, that's okay. I guess you have succeeded and I have not." And I was like, and also like, if you look at like entrepreneur lifestyles on like
Mhm.
Instagram and whatever. I'm like, apparently we have to wake up at 5 a.m., get our workout in, never look at the TV, cryptocurrency, hustle, 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 vacation,
Yes.
network, go to bed at a decent time, but also probably at like 2 a.m. because you gotta hustle. And
Right,
I was like,
right.
that's exhausting.
Oh yeah, that was my hardest thing when we first started. I feel like I told you, I was like, it is so hard not to compare yourself to
Oh, yeah.
other people. That was, I mean, I probably had so many tears when I first started out. I mean, especially the pandemic of like, how do I even start out on this? Like, I didn't even know really where to start because wedding planning, I mean, in the umbrella of events, but a whole different industry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would compare myself so much to people, and now I can give two shits. I do not at all. I know how hard I work.
Yeah.
My reviews like tell me, my couples tell me.
You have a lot of
like,
good reviews.
Yeah, people tell me like I know how hard I work, and I've always been this way. I don't need to follow other people that are in the same industry or other entrepreneurs. That's what works for you.
Yeah.
I need my sleep. I need a nap in the middle of the day if I can fit one in. If I don't, I actually tell Zane, I'm like, I didn't take a nap today. That's so great. Like, you know, like, but I'm like, I have to. That's the only way I'm going to function, you know? But, and so, I mean, I don't know. I just, gosh, man, that's just been bothering me because I just been getting a lot of like, well, we have full-time jobs. Like, what do you think that I have, you know?
If I didn't realize that you were getting flack like that from,
I get it
from the outside world.
That was very Canadian there. Oh yeah. But yeah, I do. And it, I mean, I know, honestly, if I was to point that out to somebody, they'd be like, that is not what I meant. I didn't look at it that way.
Yeah.
But you know, honestly, probably before I started my job, I may have thought that way too.
Well, and I know that people probably think of it as like, well, you don't have like this like firm schedule, so you have time to go do whatever in the middle of the day. Like, and I've gotten that from people where I will like, I mean, even like you're a stickler for your office hours, and I'll just be like, hey, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm working.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because it will be so hard for me to go back to work because like right now it's like, oh, I've been on like 2 hours of playtime. So it's hard, but I let myself not feel guilty about that. Like yesterday, I mean, I was with a client for one wedding. Like we were just doing so much for 6 hours.
Ooh, that's a lot.
That's a long time.
It's a long time to be around.
And I woke up at 5:30 in the morning to like get some emails and stuff like that done. And I like came home and I was just like, I have a really bad headache and I can feel like I'm exhausted. And I let myself rest.
And you know what is crazy about that? You live with another person. So it's like, when are you alone? Oh gosh.
I know. And we just joined our offices together, as you know.
Yes.
Which was like great and dumb of me to suggest that. I was like, you know what? New year, fresh office, and you're still here.
like I just feel like at this point, because I've been single long enough, I just feel like if I like married someone, I'd be like, this is great. And so you're gonna buy the townhome next door, and then like we can just have like a door, but also like feel free to sleep over there if you need to. It's not.
Don't get me wrong, I love marriage, but I do miss being single and having my studio and like just being by myself. Gosh, I miss those days. It really is.
I've never even had anything else, and I love it.
That's good. I think that's gonna be your hardest change. Is to share. I know you're gonna love it because like, I know you love like the compatibility and like cuddling and touching and all that stuff. But then you're gonna be like, okay, time's up, you can leave.
I just feel like there's going to be so many things where like he's gonna be like, we should. I'm like, nope. It's just like it doesn't make sense, but this is just where this has always been. So it's just kind of like I don't know.
It goes on the ground.
We just leave it. We're just gonna leave it. I think.
Yeah. She needs an organized man. Any man out there, you need to be organized.
Oh my goodness!
To get for this girl.
What was it when my mom came to visit one time and she took a K-cup out of order, and I was just like, what are you doing? She was like, I'm making coffee. And I was like, yeah, but you have to take this K-cup.
Step away. I'm about to cough in that. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, now it just feels weird because I'm talking to myself, but but yeah, like little things like that. I realized like I have so many routines, like the mug that goes next, the bowl that goes next, how we put things away. That like, God forbid, like I'm gonna marry someone and I'm just gonna be like, you know what? It's okay. I'm just gonna do it. It's okay. I'm just gonna do this now. It's okay. I'm actually just gonna do everything. Just keep getting on the couch, but also don't touch anything. Like, you're doing great.
It's definitely a transition, that's for sure. But yeah. So that's what did you ask? You asked what is the most complicated thing of wedding planning, right?
Yeah, the hardest thing. You said the couples. And also
Not in the, oh my gosh, preference. If you're just joining in.
I mean, also though, I think
No,
that's every wedding planner's thing. Like
it is.
because like it's
Well,
not
actually,
the
I don't know
hardest.
this. I can't speak on behalf of them.
Well, I would
but-
assume because it's like the hardest part. Like you can figure out the flowers, you can figure out venues, you like, but it's like if someone is like, I love this venue, but also maybe I don't, and also maybe I want it for
indecisive
5,000 cheaper.
decisions. It's funny because I'm such an indecisive person, but I can make decisions for somebody else just like that, and it's because it's not
why
my
I have
decision.
to make all my decisions.
Right. But yeah, that part it can be frustrating. It's like, oh my gosh, I gave you 5, pick one, pick one, and I've given you, all in your budget, all reasonable, whatever it is. Another one I've been recently learning, man, this year has been.
You're like, now that I'm talking about it.
This year has been definitely tough. I feel a little like paranoid, superstitious now that I'm talking about it because last year was so great.
Is Mercury in retrograde? I feel like everybody says that.
Yet. No.
Okay.
No. But yeah, I feel like some of my couples, I don't feel like it's not just trusting me. It's just like they just don't trust vendors in general. And I'm like, then why did you hire me? That's what I'm here for, is for me to do the work for you that you don't have the time to do, and also to give you my recommendations, my opinions, and all of that, and then you go and research your other stuff. And I'm like, so what did I spend all those hours doing? That has been very frustrating this year. I've had a lot, like I've had 2 couples do that to me, and it's really frustrating. It kind of hurts my feelings.
Yeah, it's like you hired me, but then you don't trust me, and it's like you want to do everything. Yeah. Like you want to give it to me and then immediately take it back. Yeah. And it's like, I know what the F I'm doing.
Yeah. And going back to kind of like the clients always, right? Like this is kind of the part where I stick up and say like, if you don't feel like, these are the right fit, then you go right ahead and like search. Like I'm, because I'm not going to keep bending over backwards and spending all my hours on doing that.
Yeah. No, I was just laughing because I was, there's a episode of Modern Family where they go to Las Vegas and they have this butler. And he's like, oh, can I interest you in like this, blah, 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 like all these services. And the one guy's like, oh yeah, like I'm going to do this bath. I'll start running the water. He goes, same price either way. They like, and he just like, and like, they keep like being like, can you do this? And he's like, okay. And they're like, I'm going to go pick this up. And he goes, same price either way.
Right. Exactly. You do it, I do it. Price ain't going to change.
You want me to be your wedding planner, but you also want to do all of your venue stuff, same price.
Right.
You do you.
Which I mean, great. You want to do that and take that stress away from me? Great.
I'm going to check that off my to-do list.
So like, yeah, that's the only thing is the trust. And I've realized I've had to think about it a lot. Like, does it annoy me? Yes, but I can get over it. It more hurts my feelings.
Yeah, no, like, sure.
Yeah. And so those have been a couple of things that have been happening lately.
I'm glad that we could get that out.
Yeah.
It is kind of like that whenever, like I always have to remind myself that I'm just here to show up and to be of service. But then it does sometimes suck if I'm working with a client and he's like, yeah, I was talking to a friend who's a therapist and she actually said, I'm like, is that what she said?
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
so are you seeing 2 of us?
Yeah.
And
then like I have to remind myself, I'm like, Sarah, like lay that gun down. And I'm just like, you know what? I could be wrong. I have to own that. She could be right. But yeah, like whatever, like they'll be like, I was talking to my friend and she thinks actually I have a problem. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. How much did you pay her for that?
Yeah.
It's like, Sarah, exactly. No, we're just all in this. We're all just here to get you better. Right. You do it.
Oh but yeah. No, that's it. That's exactly what you do. And you're just like, oh, I didn't know it was that cheaper. Great. We'll go with that.
Like I said, I cannot wait till she does my wedding because I'm literally just gonna be like,
oh well, this will
here
be
you
the
go.
Easiest client to be like,
yeah,
you know what? You need to trust me.
I 100% will, because I'm just going to hand you what I want, and I'm gonna be like, let me know when to show up.
Yeah, and
then boom, I'll show up.
Thinks that's how it's gonna.
It's 100% gonna be how.
This is why we're gonna butt heads when it comes to your plan, and I'm gonna love every moment of it because I know you can't fire me.
I can't. I can't.
Same price.
We're already too far in your contract. So
already too far.
You better get ready. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be this, and then you're just gonna do it, and then I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna be like, and then I'm gonna be like, and then I'm gonna eat steak.
And then I'm gonna eat.
And that's how that's
the one thing I don't think ever will change from your mood board.
Steak? No.
Yeah.
Whoa, and the wedding's going to be small enough for people who don't care. Wedding's going to be small enough that we're going to have really good steak,
What about
really
like a
good
nice little surf and
food.
turf?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was just see.
I like
And then
it.
we obviously have to have
I'm glad
some
that your budget's gonna be
vegan.
large.
It is, because by then I'm gonna be like freaking the coach to like
But apparently
Jeff
people
Bezos.
think like, you know, you need a sugar daddy. By winking.
No.
You know that your list consists of equals sugar daddy.
No, I'm going to
No.
at that point, yeah. If Jeff Bezos is gonna reach out to me because he's gonna be like, everybody thinks I'm a villain. I'm gonna be like, should we explore that, Jeff? And then I'm gonna be like speaking everywhere at multiple TED Talks.
Wait,
My
are you saying
third-
Jeff Bezos is gonna be your husband?
No, he's gonna be one of my clients.
Oh, okay.
No,
got
I've
it.
never married that guy.
I was
He's
like,
too short.
I don't feel like
Oh, I shouldn't say that. Not too short. Short men are valuable.
edit. What is this, Mark? An hour and 40.
I'm just gonna be at that level where like I'm just gonna start having these crazy clients who are gonna be like, I want to pay you like $3 million a year just to be on call. I'm gonna be like, I'm never going to just be on call because I'm here to serve all. But also, yes, if you need me, you fly me to you.
I also do feel like this episode is going to be your most off the wall episode. Everything else, like I tell you, she's a very professional coach. It's just when us two come together, it's like we just go left and right and all aboard. You know, we really should have our own podcast. Again,
I mean, we can start this whenever.
Right in
and
PO
let us
box.
know
If you guys think that we should start our own podcast.
I feel like it's going to start being like, we want more Riker.
Yeah, take that other girl off.
for all the times Riker's been on me. Okay, so let's actually wrap it up.
Okay, that's a good idea.
So I can have time for you after. My last two questions.
Yes.
As an avid listener of my podcast, you probably already know what they are.
I do.
Good answer. Let me see.
Oh, I thought you said know of your podcast. I thought you were gonna like question me on all your podcasts.
Oh no, I was just going to say.
Like,
So the last two questions, as always, how do you desire to better show up for others?
You know what? I thought of my answer today as I was listening to the last podcast, and now I forgot it.
Okay, it's okay.
So,
it's okay.
you know
I'll come back.
Yeah, I was like, how does everyone answer this so quickly?
Actually, I don't know. I don't know. Whenever people do it, I'm like, good for you.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like,
it's like an interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I mean, I feel like I would answer the question with I definitely would do the definition of the word in the, like, because I'd be like, I want to show up for people better by showing up for people. Better.
That's on your essay. I love that. I used to do that all the time. I'm like, that's awesome. Good paragraph.
Good paragraph.
Okay, so how
do you desire to better show up for others?
Oh, this is what it was, which I've already said about, but I've been practicing, is patience.
Mm.
And honestly, putting myself in their position. Would I want this person, or would I want someone to show up for me?
I like that.
Yeah, and that's how I go about my day for showing up for people.
And how do you desire to better show up for yourself?
Oof, that one's a hard one.
It always is.
So I try to invest into myself as much as I invest into others and my couples.
Mm-hmm.
So I meditate every morning, and I used to like do it here and there, but I've made myself meditate to have a peace of mind.
Uh-huh.
Side note, I realized I usually do the energizing one, like from Peloton, of like an energized meditation.
I didn't know there was.
I am not going to do that anymore because it really gives me high anxiety, actually. So I'm going to stick to calming, patience, or a morning meditation.
They're like, and breathe. Now breathe faster.
Yeah.
Breathe faster, just a little bit
more. I realized on my way here, I was like, gosh, I'm like feeling high energy, but an anxiety. I'm like, it's the meditation this morning. And I always want to make sure I stay focused on not letting myself feel guilty about, decisions I make for my mental health, and for being okay that, hey, I'm taking today off, or
because you deserve days off.
Yeah, and that's another thing about entrepreneurs, very hard to give yourself days off because we don't get paid for it, or the business has to run somehow.
Yes.
So yeah, I just feel like all the things I'm practicing of patience, turning the negatives to positives, meditation, you know, investing into myself, my business, and knowing, you know, my choices are gonna benefit me, or I'm gonna, either if they're right or wrong, is the only best way that I can really show it for myself.
I love it.
Thank you.
And however I can help you, let me know.
I know you always ask, but you just sit back and relax, girl. You focus on you.
I do that best.
Yeah, I do.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For everybody that was listening, thank you so much for being here for the conversation. Jenn, again, Anna Ray Events. Her ideal client is the one with a lot of money. I'm just joking, but also like, don't be afraid. She likes a nice bohemian chic type, you know. Okay, I don't know what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, see,
I don't know why I'm trying to
Sarah's
plug
talking about her Pinterest board.
No. Anyway, you know what? I won't plug her.
You know what? A great client that, you know, we're gonna fit well together, even though I know I've talked about it, but you know, fit well together, and you know, is looking for someone that is ready to help plan their big day.
If you liked Jenn during this conversation,
don't mail her or DM her.
This is the exact person to hire for your wedding. So yeah, all her links for social media will be on the podcast page. And when I promote this, obviously it will be there as well, so that you can get in contact, follow, and just see what she's all about. She's an excellent human person.
Thank you. As are you.
And we're gonna die together with one
Grow
or
together,
more
live
dogs
next to each other. You know,
we're gonna be buried in the same coffin with Joe number 6.
She has big plans for us. Big plans.
They all circle around dying.
Yeah.
I really like talking about dying. So
well, thank you for having me on.
And goodbye.